Britain is at war. By day and by night, their factories hum with activity. People travel to and from their war work with the apparent calmness and confidence which inspired their last war slogan, business as usual. But in his heart, each one knows that all the while the Army is preparing for imminent invasion, that there is never a time when just across the Channel, the German Luftwaffe may not be preparing for another devastating night raid. To us in America, this seems very remote. We don't want it to happen here, but it would indeed be very stupid to say it can't happen here. So let us profit by the costly experiences of our brothers across the sea and prepare ourselves for this which may come to us at any moment. In the midst of the roar and terror of the raid, wardens calmly make their rounds. As a big one crashes through a nearby house, they fall on their faces. But as soon as they find that they are safe, they hurry to the stricken house. No waiting to knock, in they go, asking anxiously if anyone is hurt. Lights are out, but their torches soon show them that the two elderly occupants are unharmed. Mother's only concern seems to be as to who is to clean up all this mess. Our wardens ask if Mother wouldn't feel safer over at the shelter. Her reply is characteristic of the spirit of a courageous people. She states that right here is the safest place in town, because Jerry is not a good enough shot to drop another bomb on this exact spot. Of the bombs which fell in the night, 90% have done their work, and there is nothing to be done about them but to dig out and repair the damage. It is the menace of that other 10%, those unexploded bombs, which hereafter will be referred to as U.X.Bs, which closes factories, ties up transportation, and paralyzes communications. Something can be done about these, and it is up to the warden and the bomb reconnaissance agent to do it. The first thing, of course, is to investigate and to determine accurately and definitely whether or not a reported bomb has exploded on landing or if it is a U.X.B. On viewing the amount of damage in this house, the wardens assumed that a bomb had exploded there. Not only did they fail to evacuate the place, but they remained there themselves. These two wardens were not properly trained in expert diagnosis. Unfortunately, they will not be able to profit by their recent lesson. Other errors in diagnosis, although not so costly to wardens, are extremely so to the war effort. Here, a bomb has fallen in someone's backyard. Warden Harvey, who is in a hurry, takes a quick look and decides that the hole is much too small to be the crater of an exploded bomb. Remembering a part of what he has learned at Bomb Reconnaissance School, he jumps to the conclusion that this is the hole of entry of a really large U.X.B. So, off he goes to report it. But if he had only stepped forward and looked around at the house, he would have seen enough blast damage to prove conclusively that this was no U.X.B. at all, but only a small bomb which had gone off at impact. Anyhow, he didn't, so police and wardens waste a lot of valuable time closing the street, disrupting traffic, needlessly evacuating a lot of people, which is bad for morale, And all because Warden Harvey didn't make a proper reconnaissance. Not far away, old Joe, who has been through many raids and thinks he knows a U.X.B when he sees one, spots a suspicious hole near the gas plant and immediately ambles over to tell his warden about it. The warden, who is particularly busy this morning, is only too glad of Joe's help. Once or twice before, Joe has reported bombs correctly, so the warden makes a note of what he says. Without going to look at the hole himself, he sends in a report. The gasworks are promptly closed down, and all occupants in the area who were not evacuated are unable to cook their dinners. When the bomb disposal reconnaissance officer arrives, he points out to the warden the various signs of blast and splinter damage. It is obvious that the bomb has gone off, but the warden had made no personal reconnaissance, and thousands that night had to do without gas. The first schooling, then, is on how to judge whether or not a bomb has exploded. Here, a bomb has demolished 4 large garages. But has it exploded? Before you make up your mind, take a look at another case. Here, a bomb definitely has exploded. You will see plenty of evidence of blast, and that near wall has been badly damaged. There is also splinter damage both on this house and the one next door, and all this caused by the explosion in the garden of one of the smallest German high-explosive bombs. Now let's go back to the first bomb. You will notice that there is no trace of splinter damage on the house behind, nor is there any trace of blast, the window glass being still intact. On the other side, too, there is no trace of blast or splinter damage, and that drain pipe is not even dislodged. See this crack? It looks very much as though it were due to earth movement. This looks as if a heavy weight had been pushed down through the concrete, not as if an explosion had lifted it. So in spite of the amount of damage, it is quite definitely a U.X.B. So you see, it is essential that the military and civil personnel and police should have thorough instruction on all types of bombs which may be dropped, the damage they are likely to do, and the signs which indicate whether they have exploded or whether they have simply buried themselves in the earth. Naturally, our British friends have interesting collections of every size and type of German high-explosive bomb. The railing here is 4 feet high. There are 2 main types, the more common of which is the SC or demolition bomb. This has a high blast effect and good fragmentation. The case breaks into quite small fragments which are projected at high velocity. To achieve this, the demolition bomb is designed with a blunt nose and little or no streamlining. This type is the chief anti-personnel bomb, and it is used primarily for the destruction of property over wide areas. The general construction consists of a steel tube body with a nose and a tail welded to it. The case has a thickness varying from 3/16 to 1/2 inch. The nose is rather thicker than the rest of the bomb and has a solid piece of metal at the tip. The second type of bomb is the Armour Piercing or SD type. These are intended for targets where deep penetration is required before the bomb detonates. This calls for a shell thick enough and tough enough to resist distortion when piercing steel facing, as in the case of battleships. Typical targets for armor-piercing bombs are power plants, waterworks, large factories, and reinforced steel and concrete buildings of all descriptions. You will notice that the armor-piercing bomb is much better streamlined than the demolition type. The thickness of shell varies from 3/8 to 1 1/2 inches, with a mass of solid metal in the nose. Some idea of the thickness of the case may be gained from this diagram, in which the proportion of the weight of the explosive to the weight of metal is shown. Note the strong contrast between this and the demolition bomb, which accounts for the greater devastating effect of the latter. The weight of all German bombs is given in kilograms. A kilogram is just over 2 pounds, so double the figure and it will give a rough idea of the weight in pounds. The smallest German bomb in regular use is the 50 kilo. All are roughly 2 feet 6 inches long and 8 inches in diameter. They carry sheet steel tails, which adds another foot to the length of the bomb in the air. The only difference between these 3 is the shape of the filler cap. Next, we have the 250 demolition bomb with a diameter of 14 1/2 inches. The length with tail is 5 feet 8 inches. This fellow causes great damage for its size, and remember, if it's a 250 kilo, it's very likely to have either a delayed action or an anti-handling fuse or both. So treat any suspected 250 bomb with particular respect. The 500 kilo has a diameter of 18 1/2 inches with a length, including the fin, of 6 feet 9 inches. Like the 250, it may have either 1 or 2 fuse pockets. All 3 sizes have sheet steel fins painted green, sometimes with yellow markings. You may find parts of these on the surface, but in the case of a U.X.B, it is more usual to find parts in the hole of entry. The fin is held to the bomb by small rivets through these holes. That's why it breaks away so easily. It is worth remembering the approximate size of these fins. The 50 kilo bomb has a 5 1/2 inch fin. The 250 kilo, a 10-inch fin. But when we come to the 500 kilo, we find a 12-inch one. Now for the big fellows. 1800 is the largest so far. Herman at 1,000 kilos is quite popular. Nearly all these large ones have tail fins of pale blue magnesium alloy, and pieces of this found in or near a crater may mean a U.X.B of a ton or more. The only exception is Satan's tail fin, which is of sheet steel. These projections mark the position of the Kopf ring. This is a retarding ring fitted on the nose of these big demolition bombs to reduce their penetration. This Kopf ring usually breaks up when the bomb hits. It is of heavy steel and can be spotted by its triangular cross-section. A piece found in or near the crater means a 1,000 kilo or larger. The 1,000 kilo Herman has a steel carrying band with a suspension eye bolt. Sometimes the eye bolt is replaced by a carrying lug. This band may become detached, and if found in or near the crater, it is a good indication of a Herman close by. The lugs, too, may be torn off and found separately. The diameter of the 1,000 kilo bomb is 24 inches, and of the other two, 26 inches. With fins, their total length varies from 8 feet 9 inches to 11 feet 6 inches. Our British friends soon found that an intimate knowledge of these bombs as to dimensions, weight, power, and structural detail was invaluable in bomb reconnaissance. For example, this hole about the size of a saucer, 6 inches across. Since the smallest bomb is 8 inches in diameter, obviously this hole is too small to have been made by a bomb at all. It is the entry hole of an unexploded anti-aircraft shell. It should be reported as such, but it is not dangerous if left alone. Here's a hole in the concrete roof of a factory. It is about the size of a phonograph record, 10 inches. The size hole made by a 50 kilo bomb. From below, we see it is cut right through a steel girder, which means that it is armor piercing. It has gone through the 6th floor, leaving another 10-inch hole. It has done the same on the next 2 floors and then comes through the 3rd floor here, side-swiping a pipe with its fin. This has turned it so that it has gone through the 2nd floor on its side and left a complete silhouette of its shape. The bomb has finally broken through the ground floor and buried itself in the earth. The fins, which must have been broken in the course of this flight, have followed the bomb into the hole, and telltale pieces of them are found by this police inspector who happens to be the first man on the spot. It is interesting to see that the bomb, after removal from the hole, is not scored in any way, in spite of having sheared through a steel girder. In fact, it is in far better condition than the building. This hole of entry in loose earth about the size of a phonograph record is not so well defined as the one in the concrete roof, but it is obviously a 50 kilo. Here's an easy one, the crater of an exploded 50 kilo, 10 to 15 feet across with raised edges. But what's this? At first glance, it looks like another 50 crater, but it is suspiciously shallow and straight-sided. Maybe it's a false crater. A bomb disposal officer, on looking around, finds a piece of Kopf ring. That means a 1,000 kilo or over. If the 1,000 kilo bomb had gone off, it would have left an enormous crater like this. So the BD man is sure, having found a piece of Kopf ring, that a big U.X.B is there. He probes for the track of the bomb, and there it is. And now, what's this? It is such a shallow crater that it might easily be the hole of entry of a large U.X.B. But the score marks in the grass radiating out from the crater show that an explosion has taken place. Probing here, you would find no soft spots. A small bomb has exploded instantaneously. Here's an interesting hole, for though it was reported a U.X.B, it was not made by a bomb at all, but by the hard lump of clay on the left side of the hole. This is a similar hole. High-flung debris will frequently make sizable holes on striking soft earth. Now here's a more difficult one. There's a great deal of damage and debris in this room, but the wall behind it shows no trace of splinter marks. The light bulb and the mirror on the wall would have been cracked by blast if the bomb had gone off. The hole of entry cannot be seen, but it certainly should be reported as a U.X.B. This is the hole of entry of a 250-kilo bomb in a street. It's about 16 inches across, the size of a steering wheel. The hole of entry of a 500-kilo bomb is a bit larger, about 20 inches across, the size of a car wheel. Here's another case of a U.X.B in a house. It is difficult to tell the size as the hole is blocked with rubble, but it probably is another 250 kilo. This, too, is a case of an unexploded bomb. The size is difficult to gauge accurately owing to the fact that it has fallen through a wooden floor. It has left no clearly marked hole, just broken the planks. This is typical of the damage done by a 250-kilo bomb when it has exploded inside a house. And this is the crater it makes when it explodes in open ground. Notice particularly that the chimney is still intact. Blasts will frequently leave chimneys intact, as in this case. It is earth shock which breaks them. At first sight, the amount of damage here and the size of the crater suggest that the bomb has gone off. But if you take your mind away from the damage and the crater itself and take a look around the ground, you will notice suspicious-looking cracks, which suggest earth movement due to the deep penetration of a 250-kilo or larger U.X.B. And when we look up at the wall behind, we find no traces of blast or splinter damage, but another telltale crack, typical evidence of earth movement. With a very heavy U.X.B, or one falling nearer the house, it is possible that the chimney also would have been broken.